To get started on this particular block called the Interstate Highway, oh, by the way, the name comes from, well, it looks like there's two highways here. One going this way, one going this way. And then these would be the little roads that are for emergency vehicles. So that's where the name comes from. I don't know if this block already exists, so that's why I gave it that name. This one actually came out of my head, and I designed it myself. Okay, so this particular block is not free. So that's why I'm blocking out the sizes. And this particular block can be done completely in Quilt As You Piece. But of course, you can actually, do a traditional quilt with any of the blocks that I teach you how to do. I'm just teaching you how to do them, double-sided Quilt As You Piece way, so that they're already layered, like Quilt As You Go. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start with the center block first. And this one, I've actually got everything the correct size, so I'm just going to be extra careful. And I am going to quilt these as I go, as I piece them. Okay, so we'll start with the center. And I am going to fast forward through the majority of this videos just because it's so repetitive. All right, so if you haven't watched my videos before, this part is actually for you. And what you do is you use a water-soluble, washable glue stick to layer your pieces together. And you put the glue liberally all over, and I promise you it'll wash out. And then you're going to put your batting on top of the fabric piece. And then you're going to heat set it with an iron. And it will not gum up your sewing machine needle. I've made 3 quilts in this manner. A queen size, a king size, and one that was partially done this way and partially done Quilt As You Go. And I used glue stick, and I used liquid glue for actually putting the seams together, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. Then you put more glue stick on. You can use fusible batting also if you want to. I just don't have, well, I happen to have some, but that's not what I'm using in this project. And you can use spray based also, but I find that's actually more expensive than using this. And it gets everywhere, and if you have breathing problems, allergies, asthma, that sort of thing, the glue stick is actually a healthier idea. That's why I use the glue stick. You don't want to use the purple glue stick, because when you heat it back up, until it's washed away, when you heat it back up, the color comes back. I found that to happen when I was making a Christmas stocking and using the glue, the purple glue, on the white cuff of the stocking. I heated it up and it came back. So after it got washed and dried, that does not happen anymore. I mean, you can use the purple stuff, but I don't use it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to do some quilting. And I'm not sure what I'm doing for quilting yet, but I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. I am done with the centerpiece, and the quilting that I did is just basically a 1-inch grid. And I did my stay stitching around the perimeter, even though I didn't have to. And the next step is to go ahead and put the strips on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do this on camera at regular speed, and you basically put in 3 to 4 tiny dots. Make them really small inside your seam allowance, and then line up your fabric along the edge. And since I cut my fabrics just a slightly bigger, and I mean slightly bigger, I'm letting the piece straddle the ends. And then you heat set it, which only takes about 6 to 10 seconds. And then you turn it over and you do the other side, same way. And because this is wide enough, I'm going to go ahead and do both sides at the same time. And then this one's even longer. What I will do before I continue, before I stitch on the long skinny pieces here, I will trim this up to be even with this. Okay, then I'm going to heat set this. For 6 to 10 seconds. Turn this around. Grab my blue piece. I'm going to put this one over here. And the stitch length that I'm using, because I'm going through 4 layers of fabric and a layer of batting, is 3.0. And for to join these to the edges here, you're going to use a zigzag stitch. And that settings, you might want to write this down. You're going to do a 4.0 stitch length and a 6.0 width. And if your machine doesn't let you go 6.0, just go as wide as you can. Because basically what you're doing is you're catching the stitches in your batting and in your fabrics here. Alright, so I'm going to add this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this to the machine, and I'm going to do both sides. And then I'll be back. So I'm just gluing this down. And then I'll show you what we do next, because the batting will be on it when you see it next. Alright, so the pieces have been stitched on. I have done the zigzag stitching on both of them, so they're all together. And the next step is to do a little bit of tugging on the fabric, just in case some of the glue went outside of the seam allowance. Then you also want to set your seam. If you're using fusible batting, try not to touch the batting with the iron. And then the next step would be, if it's fusible batting, you just iron it down. But this is not fusible batting. And this, the fusible, is important because it's what makes it possible to do this without a walking foot. Because the fabric stays in place, does not pucker, and does not wave. Okay, then you want to heat set it. Flip it over. Do the same thing to the other side. And since I do know that I overcut this it's oversized a little bit, I'm going to trim it down before I add the next pieces. And I know what size they need to be, so I'll just trim them down to that size. And if I forget, well, I can refer to my chart and then just take away 1/4 of an inch because of the seam allowance here. And I'll just measure from the seam out to get the right width. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll just cut one side and then I'll go fast forward. And let's see. Grab my rotary cutter. Alright, so I'm just checking to see if I'm where. Yep, I definitely need to trim a little bit. And I'm going to use my weight to hold it in place and cut the excess off. Turn around and do it to the other side. And the other side, whoops. Huh. Almost there. Got it. So the next step after this is to continue adding my pieces in the same way. So this goes on and this goes on. So I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward through that. Alright, so my next step, I'm going to go ahead and do a quilting line in here and a quilting line in here, and then I'm going to do some quilting lines here also. And I'll do that and I'll be right back. So I have these two quilting lines, but then I thought, well, maybe you might want to see how I'm going to mark the rest of them. This one I didn't bother marking. I just went ahead and stitched down the center. So this one here, I'm going to start at a 1/2 inch and then do one at 1 inch. So, got this new ruler. I'm going to line this up on my 1/2 inch right there. This is my 1/2 inch mark. So 1/2 inch from the seam, just draw a straight line. And then I'll go 1 inch from there. And that should be good for both of these. And don't worry about this pen. It's air soluble. It'll go away after a little while. It could take a day. It could take a few hours. It could take a week. Who knows? All right, 1 inch from there. Yes, I have a new ruler. In case you've been following my videos, yes, this is a new ruler. Love the Creative Grids, but no, I'm not affiliated with them, but I will provide affiliate links to Amazon to this package that I got the other day. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do my stitching, and I'll be right back. They've been quilted, and now it's time to trim these up to get ready for the long skinny strips. So we'll move this out of the way. Bring back this quilt ruler. Yeah, it's long enough. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to line up this edge of this block with my ruler. And I'm not going to worry about... Yeah, it should work. Okay. So go ahead and cut those off. Turn this around and cut this off. Looks pretty good. All right, so the next step is to add the long skinny strips. And notice I did not trim off these ends. I don't need to. This is going to be trimmed off at the very end, because that is the 10, over the 10 inches. In fact, let's double check to see how long we are. Okay, this ruler is 12 inches, and we have almost 11 inches, so we're good. We're going to cut it down to 10 and a half, and that's where it's supposed to be. So once we do that, yeah, that's about where it's going to be. This fabric is almost perfect. All right, so the next step is the long skinny strips. And again, I made the long skinny strips ever so slightly bigger than they need to be. They're longer and a little bit wider. So again, I'll be gluing it onto here, and then I'll be adding these, and I will be adding these and this one, and I will do this fast forward because it's basically the same thing that I've done with these. So as you can see, I'm done stitching all the pieces together. Now I'm just going to do some quilting here and some quilting here like I did these. I'll do that on fast forward. Alright, so if you want this pattern, you could go to the website at jpfun.com. There will be a link in the description on how to get this. And at some point, I hope you caught the secret code that you saw flash across the screen. What you do is you take that secret code over to jpfun.com, log into your points account if you have one. If not, sign up. It's free. And you can go ahead and claim the 20,000 points for watching this video, and then you can redeem those 20,000 points to get this pattern basically for free. Otherwise, if you don't want to be bothered with the points, you can buy it for $1.99. You can become a paid member, $95 forever, or $8.95 a month for 12 months, and that it's just 12 payments. Nothing more after that, and you'll stay a member for as long as I have the site up, which, you know, I've had my website for a long time, over 20 years. So I'm here for the long haul. This is what I do for a living. It's paper bead making, quilting, and crochet. I'm not designing crochet patterns, but all the patterns I've designed are there on the website. There's 950 of them in total, and about 200 of them are free, or a little over 200. Don't know the exact count. So we're just about done with this video. I'm going to go ahead and do stay stitching, and so I just wanted to thank you for watching. And until next time, thank you and have a great day. Goodbye. Oh yeah, one more thing. Here's the other side finished. Sort of matches the colors on the piece of paper. All right, thank you. Bye.